Ha ha ha. Okay, so I guess my audio is clear and we'll start in three, two, one. Boom. Now we're officially live. Hello everyone. My guest today is Aaron Baugh. He is the co-founder at ICycle, a former Tedx speaker and a podcast host from InYourElement, and as well as a software engineer. I mean, if you ever look up his LinkedIn profile, he has done a lot of stuff. He knows JavaScript. He knows everything a typical software engineer should know, like JavaScript, HTML. And there's CSS, Node.js, web design, web development. So a typical software developing guy who gave a TEDx speech, who has an interest for Rubik's cubes, who owns his own podcast. Aaron, great to have you on my show, man. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ishan. It's great to be here. I have to say, you gave an awesome introduction. um, yeah, there's a lot that I like to tinker around with, but honestly, I'm just like a regular guy who likes tinkering around with technology and Rubik's cubes every now and then.
like how um how do you introduce yourself when people ask you, "Hey man, who are you? What do you do?" How do you introduce yourself to any stranger you meet?
I tell most people that I'm like a professional Googler, so because like I studied computer science in university. Lots
True.
of people who want to get into programming do the same thing. And you need to, one of the best skills that a computer science degree, or in fact, a lot of degrees teach you, is not so much the knowledge, but how to acquire knowledge, how
Hmm.
to find what you're looking for. And more often than not, that's actually more useful than the theory you learn because you do get like a solid foundation in any degree that you take up, but it's these meta skills like how to learn, how to find things out that ultimately is what sets you up for life. And I found that after university, a lot of what I did was obviously applying what I learned, but also knowing how to find out what I don't know. So it's this kind of joke amongst myself and other like friends of mine that are also into software development that we just spend most of our day like googling stuff,
That's what
reading
we
the
do.
Stack Overflow Bible, and so
Yeah, I mean, like we have a simple Python project right now in our college. A lot of kids, I mean, like we don't directly copy paste the entire code. That's plagiarism. I mean,
mm,
we pick up snippets from multiple sources. That's smart.
yeah, of course. But if you think about it, isn't that what learning is, right? You're picking
Right.
up bits and pieces from different sources, then you're processing it, you're
Hmm.
understanding it, and applying it within context in a way that's yours. So I wouldn't say
Right.
there's anything wrong with that at all.
Same here. Like, and I mean, how can you not? You can't run the code properly if you don't understand what you're copy pasting.
Yeah, true,
You just
true.
can't do
You
it.
need to
You
understand
know,
what you're
like
doing.
I hear a lot of people even out there. I mean, I was in Europe. I think in 2019, I was in Sweden. And one of the guys over there said that, hey, okay, your education is all about memory and stuff. But just a thought came to me that how am I not understanding what I'm reading? Like
Mm,
if I don't understand what I'm reading, how can I memorize it?
mm,
Right.
yeah, that is so true. Isn't there a famous quote that goes, "I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, but I do and I understand"?
Hmm.
So I think it's very true, and I think memorization is only really like half the story. If you don't understand it, it doesn't become useful, right? You
Right.
can memorize one way to apply some piece of knowledge, but it kind of loses its power beyond that, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's really interesting insight that you have.
Thank you. So um, when do you have some funny incidents that you did in college? Like, what was your college life like?
My college life. I loved university. I think university is one of those things that while some people choose not to do it for various reasons, I found it was very much a big part of my growth and development. It was such a formative like part of my life, especially the first few years where you undergo so much change like so quickly. And I remember for me, one of the highlights was just meeting people and having everyone around me be so open to sharing their story, to making friends, and just doing really weird things. Like the conversations that I'd have just a couple weeks into university was so
Mhm.
bizarre and random. And looking back now, you'd never like have those kinds of conversations with just anyone you might meet. But in university, it's like this environment where everyone's just being little bit silly and bizarre those
Yeah,
first
like
couple
it's
of
like this
weeks. And
environment with like a bunch of kids. Like even I just feel like, like we're just students who want to learn so much, who trying to explore and discover new
mm,
things. So we have an open mind and we just like sharing it with each other if we're, kind of open to each other and kind of social.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's really nice because if you think about it, a lot of people go through their childhood, their upbringing, and they're in this bubble, right? And for
Right.
me, this is very prominent because I come from a pretty small place, right? It's called Gibraltar. In fact, I'm actually in Gibraltar right now, and
Mhm.
it's a really small place. Everyone here knows each other. Like you walk down the street, you bump into like five people that you know, and while that's awesome in some ways, in other ways, you do tend to develop a bit of bubble think. And it takes you requiring to step out of that bubble into another environment to
Hmm.
really see that there's other things beyond this like 6 square kilometer radius, 6 square mile radius.
Mhm.
And that was really enlightening for me and kind of showed me so many different ways of thinking, so many different ways of living that it really helped to pop that bubble. And I think it's so important for people to experience that for sure.
Definitely. I mean, did you kind of feel like it was you getting out of your comfort zone? Did it feel uncomfortable when you started to open up in college?
Yeah, I think so. But one really interesting thing is that with most things, with practice, you get a bit more comfortable with it. So you get more comfortable just sharing like your story and like approaching strangers and whatnot, and actually becomes a little bit fun. And funnily enough, that's actually a practice that has stuck with me beyond university. I love actually just interacting with strangers and meeting new people. And it's really funny because in London, that is like not a very common thing to do, right? People are quite in their own world doing their own thing in London, especially on like public transport and whatnot. So if you
Mm-hmm.
walk up to someone and say, hey, how's it going, man, they'd be like, wait, what? It takes them a second,
Okay.
but then
Yeah.
most people are quite friendly about it and they'll have
Maybe
a
that's just
conversation
how
with you.
cities are.
It could be. I haven't lived in any other city than London, so I wouldn't know, but perhaps it is a city thing. Is that do you notice something similar in Pune?
Like Pune is not like a huge city. Like it's not like a metropolis. Like Mumbai is like that. I mean, if you just go and say I was going Mumbai, I don't know. I've never lived outside of Pune my entire life, so I don't know either. I mean, we're just making assumptions, but that's what it feels like from the outside.
Yeah.
Like if you've
Do you,
ever
do you
visited these places, you haven't spent enough time, but that's what you tend to create. That's your judgment. You become too judgmental.
Yeah, totally. Do you feel that there is a bit of group or bubble thinking in, your hometown and whatnot, or do you find that most people are quite open-minded?
Like initially, when I was a kid, yes, because it was a small town, but over time the city has grown, and I think it's
Mm.
about to become one of the largest cities of the state. It's going to become larger than Mumbai
Mm.
in terms of area and size. So it's grown
Wow.
pretty much now. So I don't recall a time when we were like it's like a small bubble. I mean, even Pune is growing and becoming more like a proper city now.
Mm. That's so interesting. Would you say that Pune is going to become the next like Mumbai then? Is that where it's at?
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, there you have it, folks. You got to invest in Pune. Pune is where it's at.
That would be fun to watch. That would be fun. Just like, hey, you're living over here, and it's like how some of these social media people feel like, hey, they're stuck to a platform their entire life, and all of a sudden that social
Mm.
media platform just blows up, and they're like, hey, we've been here from the beginning, and we're reaping
Mm.
the rewards.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be,
You know,
if it could be something like that. It could be very, very cool.
yeah, absolutely. There's so much power in investing in something you believe in from the very get go and then sticking that through. You see that with so many things. I have a friend who's really into blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, and cryptocurrency. And he's been like that for the past, 5, 6 years. He bought his first bit of Bitcoin, I think, in like 2013. So not from like
I
the
think he's
very
rich
beginning
now.
of Bitcoin.
Is he rich now?
He's doing well, but he didn't become very successful just by buying cryptocurrency.
Because
What
that's
worked
how
for
the
him
market
was
works. Like I don't think I
right.
have, yeah, I have some of cryptocurrency, but again, people are thinking like cryptocurrency is like a stock market. Like, you're putting your money in a company and as employees, it's gonna, give you revenue and return. That's not the purpose. It's like an evolved version and like an additional feature of the internet that, how we used to say that, hey, we live in a virtual world. This Zoom is a virtual world. Having a conversation through a virtual platform. But when it comes to money and financial transaction, like when we say like, okay, we're accessing bank online in a digital manner,
Mm,
the money is not really on the internet. The money is stored somewhere, the balance is stored somewhere in the physical world, in a book or something. We're just accessing it through the internet. Now, cryptocurrency and blockchain is a way to literally have money on the internet. Right.
yeah. Mm.
And now we're speaking of
It's
cryptocurrencies. Do you own some cryptocurrency?
it's interesting. I think there's a lot of really interesting points you brought up. I do own some cryptocurrency. For me, it's really interesting that you mentioned that that's not the purpose of cryptocurrency. That it is more of a utility. It's a type of money that you use for transactions and whatnot in the virtual world. What I would actually argue is that cryptocurrency in some ways is actually not too far off from our traditional centralized banking system. You think about it, right? Yes, like a couple 100 years ago, if you had five gold coins, that was five tangible gold coins, right? Like it's
Mm.
it's real. These days, if you look at your bank account and it has a couple of numbers in front of your name, that actually doesn't necessarily mean that there's a bank that's holding, they've set aside that, your here's Ishan's like
Yeah. Yeah,
savings.
yeah, yeah.
What they tend to do is more so say, okay, we've got like 10 people, no one's going to take out, 3,000
Mm.
rupees or whatever at the same time.
I think there's a
So
there's
like
a term for this. What, system of deficit or something? What's it called?
I would love to know the name actually because I've
I think I'll
I've
look
not
it
come
up.
across the
What's it
name
called?
before.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called a system of deficit, like deficit financing, a practice in which a government or a bank spends more money than it receives as revenue. The difference being
Oh
made up by
gosh.
borrowing or minting new funds. Right? Like so, basically,
That's
banks they lend out more money than they actually have.
mm,
Right?
mm, yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, I love the name deficit banking. I've never come across it
Mm-hmm.
before. But yeah, totally. And I think one of the promising things about cryptocurrency is that there's no centralized entity that can basically take charge in a way
But
that
again,
allows for
like,
deficit banking.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's no definite. Again, there's also some lot of issues over here. Meaning, like in India, a lot of people are getting scammed. Like even like the problem is that again, like we need Indian platforms. Like we need a way for us to take out money from our banks and put it on these platforms. So what's going on right now is that all of each and every single bank is indirectly kind of bullying these platforms, and they have denied the basic direct bank account to wallet Indian rupee transaction. So I can't transfer any rupees directly through my bank account. I need to use the online portal through these platforms, like the P2P version, which is again decentralized. It's through the platform or any. There are lots of crypto marketplaces in India right now. Just pick up any one of them, and then like they give you any specific currency. It could be US dollar, Tether, or Ethereum, whatever currency it is, and then you immediately exchange on the spot. So like again, you give out it's like a completely decentralized system. The problem is it takes much longer, and like in case you screw it up, there is a major fine. Like I think this is what happened with me, and it could happen with a lot of people that one aspect is that it's taking way too long for people to get cryptocurrency
Mm-hmm.
because of this decentralized system. It's not as fast as it should be in India compared to the earlier one, because centralization was fast. There was speed. There's enough speed in the initial stages, meaning getting our money from INR to crypto. Once it's in crypto, then just in seconds, you can just make any transaction you want. I can buy any NFT I want. Tomorrow, let's say the crypto NFT market crashes. I'm going to buy all of VeeFriends, Gary Vaynerchuk's
Mm-hmm.
project. I'm just going to buy them because they're going to go down as well. And I'm confident he'll try to push it back up, and they'll be cheap. So I think I'm going to buy them all. Not all, but I'll try and buy as much as I can. Right. So that's pretty fast. That's pretty instant. But this initial stages is issues. As the second thing I think is the scam part. Where people try to get you tricked. Like the basic social engineering element that, hey, people are gonna get you scammed. People are gonna steal your wallet numbers and stuff. And I mean, there are legal, proper, legit ways people do this. Huh? Um, I was watching this video on LinkedIn from, I think, a Gabriel Friedlander, and then I looked it up. So basically, there was this woman who had 5 bitcoins. It's just think it's a recent incident, and it was on one of these platforms. It was on her website. On the She was using the web browser version. She wanted to use the mobile version, so she looked up the platform name on the app store, and the one on the top, right? You know how SEO works. So she hit install on the one on the top. When she opened the app, the app asked her for her cryptocurrency wallet and password and everything. She entered it, and within like 15 minutes, all her cryptocurrency was gone.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like all 5 bitcoins just gone.
Mm.
Because apparently that app wasn't the real one. Somebody had created a fake application with a similar name, and it had done the SEO part. You know how the Google algorithm works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another element. Like there's a little bit of element of safety and protection over here. So I think people will have to educate themselves to protect them from scams and learn to get things done. Like I'm like one of my P2P transactions, I'm still struggling to get it done because it's taking too long for me to get my cryptocurrency. It's been way too long. I don't want to say how long on this platform now, but it's been way too long, and I'm still waiting for that specific transaction. It's not taken place yet. But if we just remove this, these are just the initial hurdles, and I'm sure somebody would solve these problems.
I think that's some really interesting insight, Ishan. I think there's a lot of issues with availability for cryptocurrency, the platform as you mentioned, and trust as well. I think both of those with time, I feel like it's improving. I think one of the biggest reasons why crypto has exploded the past year, 2 years, is because I think the availability has gone up tremendously. You look at platforms like Revolut, and you can buy cryptocurrency now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are other platforms that either have or will allow you to buy cryptocurrency very shortly. I think even
Yeah.
PayPal. And
PayPal is, I
that's
think PayPal started that with what's the just a minute. I don't Coinbase. So I think they've had a
mm,
partnership with Coinbase,
mm,
and I think they're gonna start PayPal transactions soon.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, and there's so much more availability that when the layperson can really easily download an app on their phone, and the platforms they already somewhat trust are offering
Mhm.
this, it becomes so much easier. Then the second problem starts getting better, which is another one that you touched on, which is that people are having trouble trusting this new technology, right? When they see
Right.
them, Revolut say you can buy cryptocurrency now, you can use this to pay for stuff, and they trust Revolut, they're more inclined to trust this new technology and give it a shot. So you're totally right. I think there's a lot to do, but I would say it's getting better with time for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, eventually, the same thing happened with the internet, right? Okay, there was a problem. Some company walked in and
Mm,
fixed it. So I mean, in the long run, it's gonna work out. And in the long run, cryptocurrency, like just pick up any cryptocurrency, like a decent one. Like if you want to keep it like a stock, it can go up in value over the long run because the system is designed such that it's gonna make your cryptocurrency worth more over time. The reason it's
mm,
fluctuating right now so much is because it's being held by a lot of emotional people. Right, they just hear something. Like yesterday, there was a news that China just banned mining, and people, it was all over the social media, and people started freaking out, and the price of cryptocurrency just went down.
Mm.
Like it's just going up and down, and that's kind of hobby. That's just how that's also how the stock market works in terms of dynamics. So in the long run, I think any decent cryptocurrency would be much more valuable than your fiat currency. But again, like
It's
people are treating most cryptocurrencies like they would treat gold and silver like a non-performing asset. Like they would treat gold. But again, then there's Ethereum. Right? Ethereum is used to buy. It's going to be used to buy digital assets. It's going to be used to buy a lot of stuff. Like you know how people do all this flipping, sneaker flipping, and all on Amazon. They could not do so through the blockchain. Like they could literally buy something at a cheaper price, any NFT, anything valuable, could be a card or anything, and then they could just flip it for a higher price later on.
mm. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Like this idea of a non-performing asset that you mentioned, I think is
Mhm.
really true because I don't think a lot of people see the value in Bitcoin as something that you use to make transactions with because the price
Mhm.
of a
It's
transaction is
yeah.
so high.
The reason gold works is because gold and silver, like they may be non-performing, but they're also like they're also used in industry. Like you use them in factories. It's melted to create new things. There's
Mm.
gold in this thing. There is a
Mm.
little bit of gold used in here for conducting purposes, like even a tiny bit of gold. So it has some value. Like I'm not going to be melting bitcoins to make a microphone, am I? No. Like then in India, like you use gold for jewelry. Like every Indian wedding, you will never see a wedding without any gold being involved. There is tons of jewelry. The bride wears a lot of jewelry. Like you cannot see any Indian wedding without any gold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just how valuable these gold and silver are. Like in the end, they're metals, right? We use them. That may not be a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so interesting. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
been to an Indian wedding?
Dude, I'm from India. Of course, I've
Yeah,
been
I
to
know. I
Indian
know.
weddings. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I ask because I have friends that, I went to university with and like I've never been to a wedding, full stop. Like
Oh,
so I don't know, don't make that assumption.
yeah, I mean, I was supposed to go to London for my sister's wedding, but let's see. I think because of COVID and all, the visa office is shut. I know
Mm.
that's sad, but it's fine.
Oh
We may
wow.
be
Well,
attending it via Zoom.
I'm sorry you don't get to attend in person, but at the same time, like Indian weddings sound amazing.
Yeah, they are. I
I'm really
mean,
glad you get to experience them.
and the best part is that they're long weddings. Like they don't just get over in a
Mm.
day. So it's kind of fun. Like you just get to socialize and spend time with people. It depends on whose wedding it is and how the people are. That's what I think.
Mm.
And that's just what I like about our weddings. That hey, there's just so many things going on. You feel alive.
Yeah.
I mean, like like the best thing that happened to me during my this entire lockdown was my cousin's wedding in December. Like it was pretty exciting. Like though the number of people were less, it was fun to see people being involved in something and having fun because I hadn't seen that for an entire year.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I'm really curious. What are some of the other things that you have done this last year that you feel have kept you kept you, having fun, ensuring you're still learning, growing, and not just down in the dumps about what's going on around you in this lockdown?
Yeah, like for the first time, I was just studying for my engineering entrance exams all the way up till October, November, and then I just started to relax a little bit. And then I just like again, like I was just kind of figuring out that hey, I want to start a podcast or something. So I was just understanding how to do it. And again, I'm a I'm kind of lazy, so it took me a lot of time to figure out okay, how do things work? How does everything work? What do I need? Like finally, I decided that okay, fine, I'm just going to wait for my semester to get over. And I was learning everything about podcasting I could, like how I could record podcast because I don't have that expensive equipment. What am I going to need? Okay, like you just need a mic and a headphone. Okay, do I have a microphone? Earlier I was using my iPhone. Like you just plug it in, and since the Apple ecosystem is efficient, you can just use that as a microphone. That's what I was using for my first few episodes. Then I found this microphone. It's a karaoke mic. Okay, like it was just sitting at my house. My father wasn't using it because he couldn't use it with his laptop for some reason. I plugged it into my computer and checked it. It's working. I'm like, okay, cool. I have this microphone, and then I got this boom stand like um on Amazon. It was a pretty good deal. Like I got it for 50% off, and again, you know how people have these excuses that hey, I don't have money to get equipment. No, you don't do. This is 500 rupees. Now this is not even £5.
Yeah,
This stand that I've got over this boom stand. So I
that's
just figured out the
that's
equipment works. So that's all I did. Like I was already learning how to build websites and everything because I'm gonna be I'm an IT student. Like I'm a software engineering student right now. I'm a software engineer. That's what I like to call myself because that's what I'm studying right now. So like it's my job to know how the programs work. Like I knew Java in 11th and 12th grade. I learned C language in my first year in college. I mean, you just learn one of these programming languages, things become easier. I'm gonna be starting to learn data structures and algorithms pretty soon because everybody's like, oh, it's gonna be pretty important, it's gonna be tough. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Anybody I meet, like, what are your thoughts on data structure algorithm? Do you think we should any freshers should start immediately once they learn any basic programming? Because is it that hard?
I think that's a really good question. I think data structures and algorithms are such a fundamental part of computer science. And for me, if I look back and I were to pick like the one or two modules that I did in university that were the most computer sciencey, it would probably be data structure and algorithms. Now, should that be something that freshers do? I think it really depends. It's like if you're learning a language, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's language is really important to be able to express yourself. And if you think about it, code is just another way that we express ideas. It's the language of virtual logic. And data structures and algorithms are the techniques and tools, they are the metaphors that this language uses to convey ideas. So, in a lot of ways, when someone's learning a new language, right, if you're going to learn English for the first time, or if you're going to learn Hindu, you're going to learn French, German, Italian, you learn first the basic principles of that language, the vocabulary, and then you learn how to string basic sentences together. And once you're
Right.
comfortable enough to express basic ideas, have a basic conversation, then you can start learning about more complex things, right? How do you use figurative language? How do you express yourself with poetry, maybe even a song? I think it's similar with computer science, with programming, in that I think first it's important to learn the fundamentals of a language so that you have a
Mm-hmm.
way of expressing your ideas. Because I think it's difficult to learn about data structures and algorithms without having something that you can use to express these ideas. It's possible, you can understand the concept of, a binary tree or a heap or a stack without a programming language, but the moment you can take that idea and then use it and implement it, that's when it clicks. You understand it now, and then you know it. You can use it going forward. So I think that while it might not be as critical to learn it day one, I think it's important to learn it early on. So yeah, it's awesome that you're going to be doing that soon.
Yeah, I'm actually just found the correct resources. Like I may have found an ebook. There are a lot of videos out there. And the best part about coding is that it's pretty much free. I mean, the resources are available for free everywhere on the internet.
Mm, yeah.
You can literally learn to code the basic part for free. Again, like, there are a lot of paid platforms. Like my brother, he's using a paid platform. He knows more coding and data structures than I do. Like he started in 2018. Like the fees is expensive, but it's a one-on-one teacher, and that teacher is probably one of the best coders in the institution over there. So he learns again like via Zoom conferencing or something like that. And he knows more about coding than I do. I mean, he was using Python to um, control his Discord server just yesterday.
Wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool. You know,
I know,
the
right?
first thing.
Yeah, you were saying.
Oh, I was just gonna say the first thing I ever learned how to program was a Discord bot for Discord.
Wow.
I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, the thing with me is that I don't like Python at all.
Mm.
I just don't like it. Like I like C language, I like Java, but I don't like Python. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't give you the freedom to write the code the way you want to. Like literally in Java, I can just go like hit 15 times, just 15 lines, just because I want the code to look clean. Right. You can't do that in Python. You have to keep it short, you have to keep it in a specific ways. I just don't like to keep it that neat. I have a different version of and
Yeah.
neat and tidy. So that's why I don't like Python at all. I mean, and it doesn't make any sense for data structure algorithm. Like I tried to use some of it. It doesn't. I don't think I would be able to understand data structure algorithms if I just started with Python. If that was my first programming language ever.
That is really interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how different programming languages encourage different ways of programming. But what I find really interesting is we've spoken a lot about different languages, different specific strategies and techniques. But
Yeah.
something I've been thinking about a lot, and I would love your opinion on this, is I think all of these things make for a good engineer. Learning how to code in different languages, learning about data structures and algorithms, being
Hmm.
able to problem solve. But I'm curious, what makes for a great engineer? And I've been having this conversation with a couple of my own mentors at work and trying to understand what makes for a great engineer. Because I think we all probably want to be, the best that we can be and be
Hmm.
great engineers, right? And for me, one of the things that makes for a great engineer is being able to get a problem, to hear someone with a problem, and then not immediately start converting that into a specification and start, writing that up as code and whatnot. But I think it has a lot to do with being able to question that and say, wait a second, are we solving the right problem here? You think about it, right? If I
Hmm.
were to tell you, hey man, this app, like, it takes forever to load, it seems really slow. There's two things you could
Right.
do there, right? You could take a look at your code and you could be, oh man, this for loop is so inefficient. We're allocating memory all over the place. I'm going to spend 3 weeks refactoring this. We're going to use memory buffers. We're going to, optimize the heck out of
That'll
this.
take forever.
Yeah, it'll take a while, but, if you pay attention to what the user said, they said it feels slow. Maybe there's another way you can fix that. Maybe you can just add in a little loading spinner. All of a sudden,
Hmm.
it doesn't feel as slow, right? So I
Yeah.
think that is one of the hallmarks of a great engineer, to make sure that you know you're
Interesting.
solving the right problem. But I'm very curious, what in your eyes do you feel makes for a great engineer?
Well, being a first year engineering student, I think I might be too naive to answer this at this point, but um, I think the best part is crisis management because it hits you with a lot of surprises, multiple tasks, a lot of things to do in a very short span of time. So
Mm-hmm.
you're you're learning to get more done in less time. You have to work smart and hard, both. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do smart work. No, man, you have to also work hard. You can do smart work and get 3 tasks done quickly. But if you want to get 30 tasks done quickly, because what's happening, like even in our college right now, like sometimes they just throw in a lot of assignments, just like, and they'll give you some time. Okay, so to finish it in this much time. So we are given specific time to solve questions and do a submission. Like we need to understand like how to get all of that stuff done in in a more efficient manner and in less time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what will make a great engineer to solve problems and create build stuff in a much more efficient manner in lesser time. Because I think that's what COVID taught us, right? Crisis management is pretty important. And I don't think a lot of institutions emphasize a lot on it, and I think that's where we're lacking.
Mm.
It's because it's hard. Crisis management is hard. Getting more like when there's a lot of things on your plate, how would you manage it? You need to have the stomach for that. So that training needs to start on earlier. So I think it could start in colleges. And if you're an engineer, it's the best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And the reason I asked this was because there is no real answer to that question. It's more a thought experiment that's good to keep in mind because it'll become it have asking that very question helps you to become a great engineer. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons that I asked you. A lot of people get very caught up in the day to day and making sure they hit their grades, that they learn the data
Mm-hmm.
structures, the algorithms, the languages, that they do well. But I think asking this question helps set you apart a little bit. And that's why I asked you. It's very interesting to hear your answer, and I think you're very observant and you think quite maturely for your age and your stage in life. So that's
Thank
very
you.
encouraging to see. Yeah, you should definitely keep doing that. That's a really, really useful skill to have.
Wow. Thank you. I'm
You're
not
welcome.
used to compliments, man. So it feels good.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm surprised. You're a very, very talented guy. So, you should definitely keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard. I think that is so important. We need to not just work smart or work hard, but we need to combine those two things. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I believe really strongly in. I'm a huge advocate of the idea of focusing. It's something that I'm so, so passionate about because I think there's so many things that get in the way of our full potential and our full expression. And the ability to focus both on the macro level,
Mm-hmm.
what do I want to decide to do, and on the micro level, which is how am I going to complete this task right now, is so, so, so important. And I think nailing that helps you work smart and also work hard as well. It's so important. So
Hmm.
that's really, really, really huge.
And that was an interesting perspective, man. I really like when you said that in the end it's all about thinking on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was all about, like thinking on your feet. And I really like that approach.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that thinking on your feet is, in a lot of ways, possible by the preparation that you put in before that. So there's
Mm-hmm.
this really interesting story of a designer who, and I forget the specific details here, but I think the truth in the message remains. They sat in a boardroom with a bunch of executives that wanted a new logo for their company, and they had a conversation for a couple of minutes, and she took out a napkin and she started scribbling on it, right? She started doodling around, and then she turned to the executives at the end of the meeting, and then she showed them the napkin, and then she said, "What do you think of this?" And they said, "That's perfect. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what we need. That's exactly what we're looking for. You nailed it. That is precisely what's going to be the brand of our company." And then she said, "Fantastic. That'll be $200,000." And they were shocked. They were like, "What? You just scribbled that in front of us? That is insane. What do you mean?" And then she said, "It took me 20 years to be able to scribble this in front of you." And I think that really speaks to the power of preparation, because being well prepared can allow you to think quickly on your feet and to be able to scribble something in a couple minutes that's worth something so valuable. Because a
Uh-huh.
lot of people think it's what you did in those 20 minutes. No, no, no. It's all of those years of preparation.
Hmm. Like now that you mentioned scribbling stuff pretty quickly, I mean, like I just joined Instagram recently. I created a new Instagram page. Like I'm doing pretty good on
Awesome.
LinkedIn. Right, LinkedIn was good, but I'm like, okay, fine. I should also try for Instagram. So like, I mean, here's what I do. Like for content, like if I see a meme, and then a meme is a commodity. It's not owned by anybody. So like I started making a few memes and just uploading them on my Instagram page. Like I don't think too much about it. If I like it, I put it. Same with like my tweets. Like if I think something, I just tweet it out on Twitter and then take a screenshot and then up send post it on Instagram. It's that simple. Like,
Mm,
people just want to upload like 2 or 3 times, once or twice a day on Instagram, thinking, like, yeah, it'll make a difference. I
mm.
think like on an average now I'm posting 8 to 10 times a day on Instagram and 8 to 10 times a day on LinkedIn.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
really good consistency.
I know. I mean,
Um,
it's hard. It's not easy. Like today, I think today I've messed it up a little bit. I haven't posted anything since morning because I was doing some work with my family. But it's okay. I can still hit like 6 to 7. You'll see, like I still have time. I have like a lot of, I have enough. I have like 6 hours more. I'll figure something out.
that's awesome. It's. I think consistency is really important. It's something definitely that I don't do as well in social media for sure. I'm a lot more sporadic, and reason being is that I've just been so skeptical of social media the past couple of years that I have trouble,
Same here.
getting into it. I I don't even have Instagram on my phone. I have an Instagram account, but I have it on my laptop. So I have an
Mm.
M1 MacBook, and I literally downloaded like the Instagram app, and I only log into Instagram like once a weekend to check my notifications, upload
Yeah,
some like
like that's
preview or
exactly
something.
what I do with my, like that's exactly what I've done with my personal account my entire life. I
Mm,
barely post on, like I think I would have posted, like I joined Instagram back in 2015 when I got a new phone. I was like, okay, fine, this seems to be a pretty cool app. I just create an account, but I never used it that much. Over the past like 5 to 6 years, I've only posted like 10 to 12 times on it.
mm,
That's it. Okay, like I do share some memes or something like that sometimes
mm, mm.
through stories. That's it. I only reinstalled it in 2020 because I had nothing better to do. And then in 2021, I decided, okay, fine. Like I'm putting out content on LinkedIn. Maybe I should start an Instagram page as well. So I think that's it. Like I barely check out my private account. I only open my cyber killer account and use that one.
I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by the power of social media to grow brands. I'm just not as interested in my own personal use for social media
Mhm.
because I feel as though I value my attention a lot and I don't want to distract myself that often. So, but I think it's
Yeah.
cool for brands and businesses. It's really interesting for marketing. It's really interesting.
Uh-huh. You've ever uploaded your tech talk on your Instagram or spoken about it?
No, actually, I haven't. I haven't uploaded anything on my personal Instagram in like 4 years. So it's been some time. But it's cool. There's something I find pretty cool. Like I'm I found that after a while, you know, if people think I'm interesting enough to like look me up online and they find it, that's cool. But I'm not really one to kind of share it around and whatnot. Um, I kind of just like to focus on doing my own thing and putting my energy towards the things that excite me. It's cool like when people find out about it and they're like, "Oh, you did this like talk. That's so cool." I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of cool." Um, I do like the idea of Instagram for sharing inspiration and even for the artistic value. I know a lot of people that use it for that. I have friends that are designers and they use Instagram for inspiration. My mother's really into like crafts and she uses that for inspiration as well. And from time to time, I'll use a couple of websites when I'm looking for some design inspiration as well. One of my favorites is Dribble or Behance. Those are amazing for looking for design ideas and being able to get some inspiration too. But for me personally, I'm not too into Instagram. But I don't know. That might change in the future.
Same here. Like I barely use Instagram. I only look it up for my my page. That's it. I barely check my personal Instagram. I just maybe double tap my chats if somebody leaves some reply to my stories. I don't use Instagram. Like I've started using Snapchat a lot because that's what people use in my college. and it's kind of
Mm.
fun. Like, I mean, the best part about it is I don't have to worry about what I snap, because once I snap something and I send it to my friends, I don't even remember what I've sent them. So I don't have to worry about what happened, what's it gonna be like, will they judge me? Because I don't even remember what I sent. And you can't even look it back up. So I don't worry about that. And it kind of feels good.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's uh, kind of an organic way to share memories with people because it's less filtered. You don't have as much time to tweak, refine, to compose a photo or memory. It's just kind of raw. So that's quite interesting. It's been a
Mm.
while since I've used Snapchat, but I just remember using it to send like goofy videos and stuff to friends. But it's been a while.
I know. I mean, I like it. I mean, it's just simple. You take out your phone, take a picture, and done. You don't waste your time
Yeah,
thinking so a lot about it. Like, you can maybe use some of those filters, but they're quick. They don't waste a lot of your time.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Uh-huh. Right. Like, so I think we were talking about your TEDx talk, right? What was your journey like with your TEDx talk? Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting you brought that up. So, my TED talk, and I'll be clear, it wasn't an official like TEDx talk. So I'll first explain like what this actually was. In universities, it's very common for them to have organizations and societies that set up actual, independent TED events. And in my university, they also had one of these, and it was actually one of the biggest in Europe, which is really, really interesting.
Cool.
In my first year of university, I remember walking through we have this thing called a societies fair, where each of these student clubs and societies, they bring up stalls and they recruit people, they tell everyone what they're about. I'm not sure if they might have it in India as well, but I imagine it's probably a common thing.
We have college life. We have TEDx events here. We have individual
Mm,
college fests. We have a lot of college fests over here. I mean, there's not much recently because of COVID, but if there were pre-corona, there we have a lot of college festivals, and we have set up stalls. We've done tremendous artwork, and it's decorated all over the institute.
mm.
So we
Yeah,
have that
that's
over here.
interesting. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And in in my university, they have these every year. And in my first year of university, I remember seeing that stall for TEDx. And I thought, oh, that is so cool. I'm gonna walk up to them. But I was kind of shy. Like, I was really hesitant. Like, should I walk up to them? I don't know. Like, should I not? In the end, like, I ended up walking by. They started talking to me for a bit, but I was really shy. So, like, I walked away after a while.
Hmm.
And then in my second year of university, they had the same stall up again, and I walked up to them and said, "Okay, this time I'm gonna talk to them. I want to hear what they do." And then they explained that within that team, they have another group that actually takes care of all of their design work, their marketing, their branding. They call it the creative team.
Hmm.
And to me, that was so cool because I was doing computer science in university, but I also really cherished my creative side. I loved designing things and I didn't want to lose touch with that. So I thought I want to, apply and try and join this creative team. So I did that and they let me in, which is really cool. Ended up doing a lot of like video work for the TEDx event and recording videos, making editing videos, and that was a lot of fun. I absolutely loved that. And then in my third year of university, my last year, things got like super busy. But I thought, you know what? TEDx is such an awesome thing. Um, in about November time, I saw adverts come out for student auditions. And I thought, it'd be pretty cool to actually audition for a talk. So I did. And at the time, I was really obsessed with this idea of focus. I had read a bunch of books. One that really changed my life was Deep Work by Cal Newport, and it explains so eloquently how you can engineer your life in a way that enables you to spend long amounts of time really deeply focused in work. And I had read a bunch of other books as well that supported this idea, and I felt it really had an impact on my life. I had always been a decent student, but that year in university, that last year, things really changed. I felt like I really pushed myself, and I was really really happy with what I was able to accomplish. And I thought it'd be awesome to like talk to other people about this and make sure
Mm-hmm.
that they are working on what they care about and be able to focus. So I auditioned for that, and they thought I was interesting enough, so they offered me a slot in what they called our student salons. So
Mm-hmm.
these are a series of events that took place before the main event, before the main TEDx event. But they're recorded and uploaded to the TED channel just the same. And that was an incredible experience, being able to prepare a talk, to rehearse it for a couple of months, and then get coaching from the team on how to present, how to refine the story. And it was such an amazing experience. I remember walking out on the stage on the day and hearing myself speak and not actually be thinking about what I was saying. It was such a bizarre feeling. It was like I was watching myself speak, and I was thinking, wow, I'm not thinking about what I'm saying. It's just like coming out. And it was such a cool feeling, because that's what happens when you just rehearse so much.
Uh-huh.
And it was really, really cool experience. I came off of that experience with such a high, and ever since I have been so passionate about storytelling that it's driven me to pursue better communication at work, and even in podcasting and whatnot. So I took a lot from that experience for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, you have a podcast, right? In Your Element. What do you do in the podcast?
Yeah,
What's that about?
the In Your Element podcast is all about uncovering stories of people that seem to be living in their element. So throughout the past couple of years, pretty much throughout my university years, I got really obsessed with other people's stories. I loved reading biographies. In fact, I love listening to biographies even more. One of my favorite things is going for runs and listening to audiobooks, which are biographies narrated by the author. So I've listened to a couple, like Richard Branson, Finding My Virginity. There's also um, Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, the owner of Nike, and the Steve Jobs biography by Walter Isaacson. That one's not quite narrated by Steve Jobs, but it was still fascinating. Now I'm listening to the biography of Barack Obama, Promised Land, and I loved listening to people's stories. And then I noticed that in work, I would have meetings with people that really inspired me, that I found really interesting, and I would just try to listen and get them to uncover their stories. And they were
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. So I thought it'd be really cool to share this with other people. And so that's really where the podcast came from. I just wanted to have conversations with people that have interesting stories and share them with everyone else.
Hmm. All right. So, how many episodes have you done so far?
Good question. So I believe I've got about 15 interviews put up. And in between some of those, I also upload what I call little narratives or spoken words.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel quite inspired every now and then. I might hear a soundtrack that I really like, and there's a topic that's on my mind, and so I usually just write up a script and I just like speak it. It's almost like a spoken article, I guess. And I have a couple of those as well. It's just another sort of creative outlet.
Uh-huh. So, how did you feel after? Like, how did you feel when you recorded your first episode?
Probably very similar to you. I felt a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I was so excited that someone had agreed to spend their time with me, and I was so grateful that they just came on the podcast, that I was genuinely curious and I just wanted to ask them questions. And for me, my favorite episodes are just ones where I get to have a conversation like we're doing right
Mm-hmm.
now. We're just having a conversation, getting to know each other, And I feel like there's so much you can learn by doing that. And it's one of my favorite things about podcasting. And being that grateful for other people showing up on my podcast makes me feel amazing when other people ask me to come on theirs, which is why I've been so excited to come on your podcast.
Great. Thanks, man. Huh. It
Yeah,
really
of
feels good.
course.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Uh-huh. So like you've loved to have conversations, a lot of conversations.
I love conversations, man. Like, there's so much you can learn from people just by trying to uncover how they think and their story. And you'd be surprised. The kind of people that don't put themselves forward to share the story sometimes have the stories that need to be shared the most. And I think that's so interesting. So yeah, it's tough to find those stories, but once you do, it's so worth it, man. There's so many interesting things that you can uncover.
That's an interesting perspective. I really like the way you said it.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot that I've learned from just a couple episodes, but granted, my podcast is still really new, and in fact, I haven't even told many of my like real life friends about it just yet because I wasn't even sure if it was something I wanted to do for a while. So I tried it out for a couple of weeks, and I thought if I do it for a while and it sticks, then I'll start talking to people about it because I feel like it's one of those things that a lot of people say they're gonna do, and then they may
Hmm.
do like 1 or 2 episodes, and then you know, it just sits on the shelf. So I thought I'll wait for a while and then I'll start talking to people. And now I've just about started telling people about it and trying to get people's like thoughts and ideas, and that's been quite interesting too.
Hmm. Wow, man. I really like that you were not like you don't want to be open about it yet because um you're not sure you weren't sure like that you were gonna do this for a while.
Hmm.
Are you sure now?
Yeah, I would say, so I started it in February, and I now would say that it is quite a regular part of my routine now. So, weekends I usually dedicate at least a day to podcasting, and I record my episodes and reach out to guests and get that all sorted. And I've been really thankful that I've been able to keep a consistent schedule. So every Sunday, I upload an episode, and I've managed to do that consistently from February, which I'm really happy about. For me, it's not about how much content I can put out, it's how consistent can I be. So, given that I'm
Hmm.
like working full time, for me, like once a week on Sunday is my thing. And I have managed to stick to it until now. I think it'll probably stick. It is definitely going to stick.
Hmm. I'm glad. I hope for the best, man. I really hope that your podcast just goes up because I really like the fact that you don't want to just keep it like an interview podcast. You want to have a conversation with them. There's a huge difference, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I really appreciate that, Ishan. Thank you. For me, one of the things that podcasting has taught me is when I have an interview with someone, I learned that it's my job to make them feel like a rock star. And I think that's such a powerful skill because if you learn
Mm-hmm.
how to make someone else feel good, then whether you're interviewing someone, whether you're having a conversation in real life, or a meeting, or you're talking with friends, if you can learn how to make the other person feel really good by giving them your time, your attention, your curiosity, your enthusiasm, then that's how relationships grow, man. And you get so much more than you receive. And that's why I have grown to enjoy it so much because it's taught me so many skills that I'm trying to use in the real world. And I think it's something that you do really well as well. Asking questions, being genuinely curious and interested, giving your time and your attention, I think are really valuable skills, and it'll take you really far in life, man, for sure.
Thank you. Huh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Wow, man. I think wow. I think we'll just wrap this up. What are the three things you would like to leave the audience with?
Wow, I love this question. So I love asking these kinds of questions at the end of episodes. So three things I would love to leave the audience with. I would say do what excites you, do it wholeheartedly,
I like that.
and don't get distracted on the way. Those are my three things.
Hmm, I like that. Don't get distracted. Wait, I think we'll just say them again. I don't know the exact order.
Sure. So I said, do what excites you,
Do what
do it
excites you.
wholeheartedly, and don't get distracted along the way.
Do what excites you. Do it wholeheartedly, and don't get distracted. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It's a pretty cool thing for people to live with. Thank you for
Yeah.
being on my show, man. Thank you, Aaron. It meant a lot to have you on my show. I really had a wonderful time having this conversation with you. I mean, we've tried this before so many times. You finally done it. I'm so glad we did this. Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, dude, I'm so glad. It's been an absolute pleasure being on the show, Ishan. I am so grateful that you thought I was interesting enough to have you on the show and to have this awesome conversation with you. I've had a great time, man, and you're a fantastic host and interviewer. I love what you're doing, and I wish you all the best, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on my show, man. Bye bye.